A massive thank you. Thank you for being here on headline day. Every festival I'm speaking at, I'm against Nessie Gomez. So really, really appreciate that because she's awesome. And so's the cacao ceremony and all the amazing stuff here. But as you were all walking in, they were singing "We All Rise Together." And that is like part of my mission. And there's enough money being used for crap in the world. So with all the amazing people and levels of consciousness and heart-centered humanity that is at this festival, like we all rise together, how amazing would it be for everyone here to have as much money as Tedros? Like, how different would the planet and the choices be? And so it's been part of my, like, does anyone mind if I swear? Have you got anyone? Fucking deep transformation has covered all sorts of the shadow elements, but money was the thing that didn't move. Hands up, anyone else like cleared self-hatred, got in touch with their parents, like learned to climb mountains, run marathons, but money's still the thing, right? So yeah, anyway, I managed to do the money thing, and I work with people on deep transformation. And I also work with people who are like multi-millionaires. And I did when I hated money. And I kind of got that work because I hated it. So it was like my own kind of hell. But so I see it from two sides. People who find it very easy to make a lot of it. But I've cleared it myself. Not a multi-millionaire yet. But who knows, like I'm open for that. But I have cleared huge amounts of how I am with money and understand it as an energy and how important it is. Whereas parts of my spiritual awakening, I was like, oh, no, it's in the matrix. I don't want to be, I want to be in 5D. So I think it's really important we stay grounded and we all have lots of it to make this world even more beautiful and more humane and more soulful. So I'm just going to do a tiny bit of housekeeping. That tripod, just please don't knock it. It's filming this for somebody who wanted to see this, so thank you. Thank you all for being here. If anyone does need to leave and wants to know more or catch up with me, there's a QR code in a frame by the door. You can scan that. My website's hearthealer.co.uk. I've also got some cards down the front, so you can come and get those if you need to. Or if you see me dancing around the festival, you can come up and say hi and we can have a chat. That's totally welcome. Maybe not at 2:30 in the morning when I'm trying to go to bed and you're off your nuts. This has happened in the last festival, and like an hour and a half later I was like, yeah, but I have to sleep now. But at other points, yeah, totally welcome. Hi, yeah. Touch louder. Yeah, sure. Is there can anyone know how to do that?
That's it, max.
Okay, is that better if you hear me okay? Yeah? Yeah, I'm getting some nods. Okay. It's as loud as it goes. Okay, I'll do my best. And do feel free to move nearer if you need to. So, just gonna check like if you're in the right place or not. Or you're thinking, actually, she said cacao, I missed that bit. Where is the cacao? So I just want to call in, like, money and sex are like the two most triggering things there are, right? It's where our shadow like really shows up. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, like that's okay. That's really welcome. And if you're feeling frustrated or bored or irritated by me, I get that. When I first met somebody to coach me with money, I was so triggered. She's now one of my best mates, but like, oh my God, the journey over years I went on with how much I couldn't bear her because she was living what I wanted to live. I didn't like it. How can you do it? I can't. Do you know how many buckets I've purged into? It's nice to be able to say that and people know what you're talking about. So, yeah. So it's okay if it's icky. And I might say some things that are a bit like that moment in a ceremony where there's like a tune comes on or an Icaro's played, and then suddenly there's like a mass reaching or purging. Like there might be that, there might not. You might be quite bored and dissociated, but it's because it's not just how we live every day. It's like we're doing generational clearing, right? Like especially, not especially, but like women have been bought and sold and used to, well, still in some places get married and have their money taken off them and things. So there's a whole lot of baggage around women and money that can be quite different around the baggage for men and money. Like the pressure to provide and like how your masculinity is viewed if you're not able to support other people, or like if your partner earns more than you if you're in a heterosexual relationship. Like there's all this like weird territory that isn't spoken about and can really like erode beautiful things if we don't get clear and conscious and really look at it. So it's okay to feel uncomfortable, and I'm going to try and make it as easy at points as possible, but also the discomfort's really good because it builds to breakthroughs. So thanks for that. So you're in the right place if you get pissed off about how much cups of coffee are these days, or you want to live off organic and it triggers you every time you look at the basket and how much food's in it, or you waste hours when you decide you want to buy something comparing coupon codes and the cheapest website, and then suddenly you've got like 30 tabs open and you get overwhelmed and shut it down and you don't buy anything. Or you go on to buy the cheapest version of X and then suddenly find yourself looking at the £350 version with bling on it. And then you're kind of like in this weird quandary about, I kind of like get a kick out of budgeting really hard or struggling with money, but I also sometimes have this secret like compulsive shopper that wants to be really rich. Right? A bit schizophrenic in our mindset with money. So if that's speaking to you, you're in the right place. If you want to change the world and a bit resentful that you're going to need loads of money to do it, whether that be an investment or a startup or a yoga studio or a healing sanctuary, you're in the right place. And if you're doing okay, but you know you could do better, you're also in the right place. And if you're here because your mate dragged you and you'd rather be somewhere else, you're also in the right place, because I trust the universe. Okay, so one of the, I think everyone's sort of, we've got the groups, people finished coming in. So I'm going to say the word God quite a lot today, and I want to just frame, because that word also used to trigger me. So I want to frame what I mean when I use that word. So like this, right? Like trees, like eyelashes on a baby, like babies that come out, like the fact that I was in my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother's body as an egg. Like I just, like, do you know what I mean? Like when we really look at this universe and we stop getting obsessed with like political power or Netflix or what the scales say, like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is phenomenal. And then the stars, and then like psilocybin, like it grows in continents when they drop nuclear waste that's never had psilocybin. Like mushrooms pop up and go, wake the fuck up. Like this is insane, this reality we live in. And when I say God, it's the consciousness that dreamt this, that created this, that made this happen. And if your path to that word is something, you say source or one or higher self, like whatever your thing is, or if it's, you know, Allah or Jesus, like whatever your words are. When I say God, like you use your language, but for me, like that is just, we can't really go anywhere unless we have God in the picture. So yeah, I needed to get that in the space. And with that, I'm going to open with a prayer. So pray however you like, but I'm going to close my eyes and just go inside. So if you want to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then take an even deeper breath in down to the pit, the root of the belly. And let go with a sound if that feels good. And then a deep breath in that takes your root system down into this earth, this beautiful planet we have. And I invite you to bring your awareness to your heart center. If you're thinking with your mind, if you've got a lot of thoughts going on, maybe imagining the mind being like honey, the consciousness trickling down your neck, across your shoulder blades, down into the heart center. Maybe imagining your heart smiling. And just knowing that right now, right here, there's nowhere else you have to be. You're safe. You're safe. You're held. And you're surrounded by some awesome people. And all of you is welcome. All of your ancestors are welcome. The past, the present, and the future. And breathing into the heart. Breathing into the heart and opening that heart space, that energy of love, that ferocious, life-transforming, pulsing frequency that keeps this whole shebang going, this love in capital letters, breathing into that center in your heart. And on the exhale, allowing your love to expand, filling your body, filling your fields, your energy systems, spreading out to your loved ones who aren't here, spreading out to your support network, spreading out to your home, spreading out through the seas and the land and the crystals and the trees and the animals, passing through heart by heart, allowing people to have the invitation to remember who they are and why they're here. Allowing this planet to pulse with love, connecting with all the other circles, all the other prayers, all the other heart keepers on this planet. And together breathing in, thank you. And exhaling, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you can join me verbally if you wish, or you can keep this an internal conversation. Thank you. 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 Thank you for all the crap I've been through. Thank you for all the friends who make me laugh. Thank you for all the money that's passed through my bank account. Thank you for all the cryptocurrencies. Thank you for all the Primark wasted pennies. Thank you for all the food I've eaten. Thank you for all the tears I've shed. Thank you for all the bones I've broken. Thank you for all the pets I've touched. Thank you for all the children I've heard giggle. Thank you for all the hearts I've broken. Thank you for all the times I've sobbed and thought I couldn't get up. Thank you for every breath I've had. Thank you for every shower and hot bath and massage and hot meal and hug and orgasm and scream into the oblivion because you don't know how you can go on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are awesome. You are awesome. You are infinite. You are special. You are wonderful. You are fucked up. You are fabulous. You are irreplaceable. Thank you. Really allowing yourself to breathe into your heart and thank yourself like you've never thanked yourself before for still being here, still rocking it. The future is fabulous. Your future is fabulous. Allow every cell in your being to know that. Give yourself a squeeze or a touch or a hug, any parts of your body that need to know that. And in your own time, very slowly opening your eyes, maybe turning to look at the person on your left, on your right, maybe saying thank you to them. Thank you. So, thank you, God. Ultimately, that's why we're all here. And now we're going to talk about money. What? So, bits of my story will come out as we go along. And I'm just going to embarrass myself a bit with how I've been and how I used to think about people and what I used to think about money and all the shadowy, maybe not all, I wouldn't keep you here all day, but some of the shadowy things I've done on my journey of healing this relationship with cash, finances, and all those fun, sexy things. And if at any point I sound like a Facebook ad that's going to get you 6 figures in 6 days, please do a mass exodus so I can keep myself in check. Because that's not my bag. And no offense if anyone is that, but that's not my way in. I haven't found that to be effective. So, poverty consciousness is one way that no matter how much money we have, we don't feel like we're doing a good job with money. We don't feel like we've got enough. And it's pretty ugly as an energy. And we'll talk about more what money is like as an energy in a bit, but let's start with what it's not. So, poverty consciousness can show up in some of the ways that I've spoken about, like getting triggered about how much something costs, asking other people how much everything costs. You're going on holiday. Oh, right, yeah, how much were the flights? Right, how much is that? Oh, that's a nice top. How much was that? All of these little things where we're just always racking up whether we can get something or not, if it's in our bandwidth or not, and being really transactional about how we see this existence. And what that does is it closes down the fact that everything is a miracle, right? And we live in a really strong matrix system that tells us that things can only come in certain ways. So you can only get that top, that's 350 quid, if you earn enough that you justify that spending 350 quid on a top is a good use of your money. But how do you know you're not going to be covering lost property because somebody broke their ankle and you're on your way to something and someone says, could you just sit here, and then they phone you and say, oh, I'm stuck in hospital. At the end, if there's anything left in lost property, you can keep it. And the top's there, right? Like, things come to us in all sorts of extraordinary ways. And that's not to say we don't get plans and structure in how we want to work, but the second we think that's the only way, we're closing down God's ability to bring us stuff. And poverty consciousness is that in motion. So anytime you feel like, oh, that's all right for them. Oh, I bet when they went to a posh school, I didn't. You know what I mean? Like, oh, she sounds like that. I bet she didn't grow up with that lack of money. She's different to me. Or it can work for them, it can't work for me. It's not going to happen this time. Oh, I tried that one. Yeah, it's not good. Right? Like, that is this mindset that stops us from being aware that God's in the room. Always. Right? That this universe is a two-way street. Like, the future doesn't exist yet. We're creating it with every breath we take. And I know that I'm saying a lot of things you all know, but sometimes it's really helpful to hear them in the relationship to money, because that's where we don't always join up the dots. And it's like no fault of ours, right? Like, who kind of does a yoga class and then comes out feeling bountiful and abundant and brilliant, and then walks past Sainsbury's and sees the headlines about like fuel prices doubling and drops it like that? Is it anyone else? Anyone else like triggered by the matrix on a kind of constant basis? Yeah. So poverty consciousness is buying into this thought set that the cost of living crisis is a real thing. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that the price of Kit Kats don't seem to go up 50p a week, especially the vegan ones, because they add up an extra quid just for the fact there's no milk in them. But, or vegan magnums, like what's that about? Double the price. But rather than thinking, oh my God, everything's so much more expensive, oh my God, how can I treble my income so I don't notice? So it's poverty consciousness is a mindset way in. And the mindset is where lots of work talks, where we start. And I'm going to talk about mindset for quite a bit, but I'm also going to talk about some other pieces that are going to help shift things. And I'm going to do my best to cover as much that is helpful and useful and leave you with some seeds to take away from today. But I also have to be honest and say, I can't fit everything I do and know into an hour and a half. So if anybody does want to carry on this conversation, do keep in touch and do keep this conversation going, even if I'm not your cup of tea, with somebody else, because it's having support that has really allowed me, and what I see in my clients is it's with other things. We get coaching and we go to mentors. Like if you want to master a handstand, you pay your yoga teacher to give you a session, or you go to handstand workshops. But money is often the thing that we think we have to do on our own. Anyone else get that? Yeah. And for me, one of the breakthroughs was not doing it on my own. I did groups, and then I built up the courage to do one-to-one. And that's what's changed. So I just want to plant those seeds at the beginning. And we're back to all rising together. Because we can all help each other up this mountain of life. Great. So does poverty consciousness speak to anyone? Is anyone brave enough to maybe share an example of how it might show up? Like whether they're triggered about the cost of coffee or something. This lady in the red.
Just to say, as soon as you said, oh, have a one-to-one, I immediately thought, I wonder how much that is.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has to.
Yeah, right. Right, so the cost comes in straight away. I get it. But what I'm going to say is it's never about money. It's never about money. It's about desire, and it's about permission. So I have a mate who I grew up with from when we were 5, and she had a 3rd baby boy. And he got diagnosed with a type of cancer when he was 2, where the drugs weren't available. The only kind of drugs, it was really rare, that were available were in America, and they cost, I think it was like £500,000 per treatment, $500,000. And we didn't grow up with a lot of money, and she's living in Australia. And she raised £2 million for her sons to have the 4 doses of this treatment. And he's alive, right? He's 8 now. But like, it's never about the money, right? If we want it enough, we make it happen. Because God's in the room. Anyone else thinking, yeah, but that's life or death, and we're talking about coaching? Yeah.
So like, I feel like I've moved through a lot of like my money blocks, and I went on to build like quite a successful coaching business, a spiritual one. But then people around me are like, no, I don't have the money to buy that. So it's impacted, that poverty consciousness is still impacting on the business. Do you think that's just a mindset issue that's affecting the actual, you know, if you tried and you're working really hard, suddenly I've like lost motivation. I'm like, well, you tell me if I afford that, you're not affordable. Or, you know, that even though I've worked through a lot of my own blocks, maybe that's still a block, do you think, or energetically?
So, great question. I can't give you the answer. You is right for you without knowing you better.
What was
The question was, she shifted a lot of her money blocks, and she coaches people in spiritual ways, in spiritual industry, and the people who are coming to her don't want to pay for her services, so she's questioning whether that's a block in her, or what does she do to do that. So I need to know you better to give you an answer that's right for you. But in general, there are going to be other people who will pay what you want to charge. Because in the same way there are people who love classical and there are people who love grime, there are people who can afford what you're asking for and are going to be happy to pay it, and it's going to be the right amount for them. And then there are practical things about how you market, how you find them. But also it's about whether you feel worthy to work with the people who can afford your services in the way that you want it to be. And it's about taking action and opening up markets and like having different, you know, you can have things that are free and things that people pay for, and, you know, like, but there's business acumen, but there's the biggest thing for me is like, where in my heart am I allowing some shame to be like, who am I to charge that? Who am I to value myself at that? Right? There are people, just going to say, 1 second, I'll come to you in one moment. Just going to say, I once had a therapist when I was being really screwy about money and sobbing in this therapy session, say to me, Helen, I was like, what? He's like, go home. I was expecting some like deep, profound wisdom or Jungian quote or like shamanic stuff, because he was a plant medicine man as well as a therapist. And he just said, look, go home. I could feel he was a bit pissed off with me whinging about money still. He's like, go home and Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever search engine you feel is least, you know, in the matrix. Stupid ways that people have got rich. People have become multi-millionaires selling rocks called Fred. Seriously, this is a business. Somebody went to the beach, got a load of rocks, put them one at a time in like just normal little boxes with clear windows. In felt tip, wrote, "My name's Fred," on the box, and it became like a niche thing. And this guy became a multi-millionaire because everybody was like, "What are we going to get so-and-so for their birthday? Let's get them the Fred rock," right? Become multi-millionaire. There are people on YouTube who go and get multi-million-pound houses and fill them with tanks of gunge, and they trash the house, and they're multi-millionaires. Like, it's bonkers. And if you're working with people to like expand their consciousness, you know, shift reality, open up their heart, like heal decades of trauma, like bloodlines, like the whole shebang, like ultimately, I'm jumping around a bit here, but these questions go right to the heart of it. Ultimately, we are not living with a limited amount of money anymore. We are not on the gold reserve. How much, I'll ask everyone to close their eyes for a second. I would like you to envision, if you've been to Egypt, you know their size, but if you've been somewhere, maybe you've been to Machu Picchu, or you've been to Ayers Rock, or you've been somewhere where you've been like awestruck by the size of something. Kilimanjaro. Everest. Imagine that is behind you and you're standing at the foot of it with your back to it. Imagine that is money. You might see it as gold, you might see it as a bank account with unlimited, but that extraordinary amount that you could never spend, like it would be impossible to work through that in multiple lifetimes. Like, that's yours. And everyone on the planet has that. Because money is a paradigm. It's like love. It's an energy. The rules that we are told we have to play with it by are not real. They serve the people who have constructed the planet in the way it is, that doesn't serve people. Money can be miraculous. Money, and I would like you to just notice what gets triggered when I say these things. Money is love. Notice what the voices say. Notice if any tension comes up. Welcome it. Money is spiritual. Money is energy. Money is a way of showing your appreciation for this planet, for other people, for art, for those you love, for making a difference, for creating the world in the way that you know it should be. All is perfect and divine as it is, but that way of being with money is so doable, and people are doing it, and you can do it too. That pyramid, that mountain, that existence, that huge quantum, unquantifiable amount exists. We're not swapping bananas. We're not on the gold reserve. We have mobile phones. We have the internet. You are extraordinary and unlimited. You have the possibility, with everything that you are, to make more money, to have more money, to spend more money, to give more money, to share more money, to inspire more people, and use money to do it. Money is just an exchange. It is an energy flow. It can be so beautiful. And in the same way that everything in this planet, we get challenges with our health, with money. It's the same thing. It's there to make us stronger. So with this huge mountain behind you of money, and if you started with something that was more like a teapot and you want to make it bigger, go for it. Increase the size. And if you want to turn round in your mind's eye and welcome yourself up to that, hug it. Open your arms. If you want to open your arms in the space, allow your body to feel opening up to this energy flow, this unlimited amount. Like love, the more love we give, the more we have to give. And your mind might be shouting right now. And that's okay. But so is opening your arms up and letting more through. Breathing into your cells, breathing into your body with the same enthusiasm as you did in the meditation when we were talking about love. Can you allow yourself to breathe in to the energy of money and allow that into your system in the same way? And if you find that challenging, can you allow yourself to come back to love? And if you need to give yourself a hug, give yourself a hug. It's okay, our nervous systems have had a hell of a ride this lifetime. The last few years especially have been really rock and roll. But in the same way, we know in our soul that this is a mass spiritual awakening on the planet. That includes money. It gets to come with us until something else happens, but I'm not sure that's in this lifetime. So in the same way that that mountain is behind you, so are the clients who want to get your services. The gentleman in the hat, you had a question.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, so the question I have, you know you were talking about permission and desire. Say you've given yourself the permission, you have the desire, but there's a belief system that's limiting you from actually channeling this abundance of money. What do you do? How do you transform that belief system that's interfering with your desire and permission?
So, just so you heard that and so I make sure I got it. So you have a desire for more money, you've given yourself permission for more money, but you still have a belief system in the mind. So, there's many ways, and it's little and often would be my top tip. I could write a book. There are many books about it, but some of my top ones are like post-it notes, like everywhere, that are moments where you find yourself going, ugh, right? So above the kettle, on the fridge, on your laptop, whatever, with an affirmation or a key or a code that brings you back to your soul and brings you back to your heart. My income is constantly increasing. Money is a way of showing appreciation in the world. I am worthy, whatever it might be. And then there's other things, but ultimately in the same way that I started with prayer, like this is a two-way relationship with God about how our life goes. And I found the closer that I go into God and being thankful, and this is the gratitude piece, which I'm going to come on to, like being grateful for what I have, then what I want is so much easier to come in. But the mindset thing is many ways, but it's, you know, it's the same with whether you're trying to lose weight or whether you're trying to run a marathon, you're trying to find your partner. Like it's the mindset thing is insidious, and the same tools for tricking it can work in many ways. I'll just say one thing because it's popped in, specifically around finances. So yeah, there's a point I want to make and then I'll bring it in, but it'll speak to that. So we spoke about poverty consciousness and how that shows up. Another way with understanding that money is energy is that two ways that we can be out of balance, and check in with yourself about which one is more like you, because it's probably showing up in more areas of your life than just your finances. It might be in your relationships. Anyone read the book Attached? Yeah, big it up for avoidant, anxious, securely attached, right? Yeah, right, bring it around. If you haven't read it, it's a great book, but I'll expand why I'm bringing it in a second. So the two ways that we can get out of balance with money is we either, no matter how, and poverty consciousness speaks to this, no matter how much we have, we don't feel wealthy, right? So I was always self-employed. I never knew how much I was going to earn in a month until I was 26, and then I was an actor. I had a job that was for 6 months rather than like a month or 2 months, and I knew how much I was going to earn for 6 months. And that's when I took driving lessons, because I knew I was going to be able to do more than one in a row and afford it. And then I couldn't afford a car, but I passed my test. I was 26, and that was because I never knew how much was coming in, and so I didn't want to spend anything on anything. I also grew up with parents with extraordinary, let's call them mental health problems, but also like really crappy relationships with money, really crappy. My like growing up mantra was, you'll never get a mortgage. And we're not going to help you get one, but you're never going to get a mortgage, right? I busted that. But yeah, so really unhelpful mindset things. So this thing is, this is why you get multi-millionaires who are like still chasing their next billion, right? Because if we're living in fear and we think things are going to run out, then we can never have enough of something. And in relationships, this is like, oh, hey, do you want to hang out on Saturday? Great. Where are you going? Oh, no. Okay, right. But I know you have to go meet the boys, but like, couldn't you just like half an hour longer? Or why don't I come with you? Why don't we hang out? Like, wait, oh, he didn't text me good night. Oh, he didn't text me good morning. Oh my God, when's he going to see me again? I don't know if he wants to see me again. It's not trusting that the person's going to be there, and it's like not trusting the money's going to be there. It's like I got to hustle for more. I can't possibly go on holiday because that means spending money, right? Can't possibly buy that because that means like letting go of money. Like it's this thing, it's like you get really sticky with it. Oh my God, and then you catch how tight you are. Like you're buying your friend who you love a birthday present and you're like, oh, but I want it. Happy birthday! Right? Anyone else get that? Right? It's really creepy. And who wants to date the person going, hi, yeah, don't let go of my hand. You're going to the bathroom, are you really? Are you coming back? Money, don't go! I want a holiday, but I'm not going to spend you. How much is your dress? Okay. I want it, but you're not going anywhere, money. I want to covet the dress and dislike that person instead of spending it, right? I'm going to come to questions in 1 sec because I just want to get the other half, and I love a tangent. So I have to be careful with myself. So one way we get out of balance with money, is not wanting to let go, right? The other way we get out of balance with money is not feeling comfortable when it comes in. So it's like, oh, that's too much for me. Hey, mates, why don't we all go on holiday and I'll pay for everybody? Don't worry, I'll get it. I'll get it. It's on me. It's on me. And that might look like generosity. And it's not to say generosity isn't bad, but this is about when we're out of balance, right? So it's like, okay, it's to do with a dis-ease or a discomfort, a bit like yoga when you're holding it and you're like, yeah, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Oh my God, oh, they've dropped out. I can drop. Oh yeah, it's fine. It's a practice. It's a practice. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we let ourselves off the hook. It's like, oh, money's come. I've been generous. Oh my God, I'm in the red again. Right? Like we push it away. Right? And it's these two sides that we have. It's like, anyone read those studies like about all the people who win the lottery and then like within 7 years, they're back at the same amount of money they had before they won the lottery. It's like, how is that like, they've done science on it. It's a repeatable pattern, right? We love science, don't we? God's not quantifiable, guys. No, science has a place, science has a place. But science isn't God, just saying. So, and just your mindset sometimes will do that with money as well, like, you know, because if I only earn this much and then that much and then I can only be this much, like that's you using logic and not letting God in, right? So, and I'll talk about some of the miraculous things that have happened, so there's some inspiration, but you can read lots of stories about that. And it can happen for you too. I used to hear those stories and go, yeah, but not me. No, it can. Okay, so we push money away or we won't let it go. Both of those are out of balance. And in the same way, it's like being in a relationship where you're like, okay, I think we had a really good date. Haven't heard from them, haven't heard from them, haven't heard from them. Oh, I don't want to seem too keen. I'm going to wait a bit longer. Oh, it feels a bit odd now. I don't want to go back there. Anyone else have that kind of like, oh yeah, I want him to like me, but I don't want him to like me too much. Okay, now he's keen. Oh no, go. Oh no, what's this? Don't get to. Oh no, he's holding. Oh, do I like this? I like this, but why is he not? Oh, okay, no, it's let go of my hand now. Oh, do I let go of his hand? I think I let go of his. Okay, no, oh no, you don't need to hold the door open. No, do you read? And we start to push it all away. You can do it in relationships, you do it with money. The relationship with how you feel with letting things in and letting them go is an energetic one. Can be the same with food. Speaking as somebody who battled massive eating disorders, like just, you know, mirrored my relationship with money. It's like I don't want to allow the food in because I feel safe without it. I feel really safe being really poor and really angry with the world. I was so happy in that space. And part of me, although I told myself I wasn't, was really happy counting every bloody calorie, over-exercising and being miserable with every mouthful of food I took for a long time. In and out of hospitals, blah, 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 but it was all tied into this same thing. Or then like eating loads and loads and loads, right? This balance, and it can get really murky. Like when we talk about food and weight, all that, and more triggering stuff. But and this isn't a fault thing, but it's about energy. It's about what we let in, how much love we let in, how much food we let in, how much we need to store it and keep it and not let it go, how much we don't like having it once we're here. This out of balance frequency that keeps cropping up, and money is part of that game. But in the same way that you can heal your relationship with your body, you can heal your relationship with having relationships. You can heal your relationship with the whole shebang, but it takes focused attention, it takes getting up close and personal, and it takes taking the shadow away from it. And that's why I advocate finding people to work with for you, because just reading the books, doing the audio books, watching the YouTube videos weren't enough for me. It was accountability, one-on-one, freaking myself out with how much I paid that this had to work. allowed me to break through, because I wasn't going to be the person who spent that amount of money and it didn't. But that came with working with somebody who sees it in the same way I do with God, with it being a spiritual process and it not being about a Mercedes-Benz. Although if you want a Mercedes-Benz, have a bloody Mercedes-Benz. And you can choose if it's electric or not. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Okay? So this thing about balance is really important. And if you're working with money and it's not moving, maybe look at where else in your life you're out of balance and where you can find your way into balance there, and start there. It's also why you find some people who are extraordinarily rich and really miserable. Because money, no amount of money can make you feel safe. Only healing can make you feel safe. But as this is a group of people who are pretty down with healing, I'm guessing by the tattoos and the Cambo dots. Caught. You can be pretty great with feeling safe with money and shifting it and being open to more of it. Question, I'm going to come back to this lady first and then I'm going to come to you.
It's okay, you've covered it.
I've covered it, great, thank you. Yes, hey, what's your name?
I'm Jess.
Hi Jess.
Yeah, this book is like loads of light bulbs going off for me. So thank you.
Great, that's really, my ego's enjoying that. Can I just see a show of hands? Has anyone else got light bulbs? Because I can see a lot of creases. She hasn't said her question yet. She just said lots of light bulbs are going off, and the mini me just wanted to check that I'm not, that anyone else is getting something from what I'm saying. Okay, cool. Thank you.
So you're talking about poverty consciousness and feeling safe with money, which is really interesting because as someone who grew up in very low socioeconomic, I'm the first one to go to finish secondary school, go to college, get a master's, all that kind of stuff. So growing up, like, we lived off food banks quite a lot, and like, so money did give us safety, like, ultimately. And there was no amount of like energetic healing, and maybe now, but like in my like tangible physical life, there's like food needed to be eaten, like we needed to pay for the electricity that was heating and like all of these things. So for me now, it's shifting where my safety needs are met, as in I have food, I have shelter, I have a lot of an abundance with money. I never thought that I'd be earning this much, but I noticed that I'm in a pattern of when I get it, I want to just get rid of it, because there's that safety in almost knowing how to count the pennies, or, you know, it's like this weird dichotomy of safety. So it's twofold, my question of how to create that like feeling and safety with detaching it from money, if that makes sense. And yeah, just love to hear your thoughts on that. That's not really a question.
I think I got what's underneath it. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And this, I'm not, also grew up with a similar situation where money was a thing, and, you know, like not being able to afford what everybody else at school could afford and all that stuff. Like, yeah, I get that. And especially you have kids and things and needing money to feel safe, totally. But you can feel safe with very, very little, because it's an inside job. Like, there are people who go off on pilgrimages like with zero stuff on them and no money, and they're just going to pilgrimage and live off the kindness of strangers, but they feel safe because they feel it's a mission. Like, you can sit and have had your power cut off. It's physically possible to sit, you know, in the worst council flat you can imagine with nothing and be hungry but still feel safe. It's also it's possible to sit in the most bling, multi-million, billion-pound, you know, castle on Mars because you've afforded to get a shuttle to take you there, like, and feel scared. Because I believe safety comes from our connection to God, to Source, to One, to understanding that this life is, you know, going to end, but we're infinite, and that we're going to be tested in different ways. And some people have stronger, the word karma is not necessarily, I'm going to use it as a shorthand, but I have problems with the word karma. Some people have stronger health karma, some people have stronger finance karma, some people have stronger like trauma karma. Some people have lots, right? But it's like, in the same way that we go to the gym to lift and choose to pick up something heavier that hurts us to get stronger, we can choose to look at our financial situation as something that is like fucking shit, and it can be, or something that is just right now, but in no way determines where we're going to be, because we believe that if we keep doing the reps, we're going to lift the shit and change it into something more beautiful, because you're unlimited. And in the same way, you're the first person to go to uni and get a master's, and like massive hands up for that. Like, you change that block, you can change the money one. And so this lady shared that she's now got more money coming in than she ever thought she'd make, but she spends it more. So one of the ways to keep that and expand it is to create a need and get clear on your desire, rather than, oh, I've kind of got surplus, so it doesn't really matter. Like, but like, hang on a second. Like, have goals and hold them lightly, but have really clear goals. Because if you, in the same way that my mate who raised £2 million to get her kid the cancer treatment, her goal was mammoth, felt unachievable, but had to happen. If you can have a goal that is like that gets you out of bed in the morning, which is why it's soul mission goal rather than Mercedes-Benz, unless Mercedes-Benz is tapped into your soul mission. But do you know what I mean? Like, 1 second, I just want to finish this point. So like, have a goal, because when there's a need, the money will come in. And so this can involve, and then so like, have the need, and then take the action, be so committed to being the person who can achieve that, whether it's the healing center in Bali, or the orphanage, or a foundation, or a legacy, or a Mercedes-Benz, like whatever your thing is. Be so available and do the work, the mindset, and the, you know, and the showing up, and there's lots of how that I could talk about, to know that you are the person who can run the center, who can heal the clients, who can be the best Reiki master there is, or whatever your thing is, that needs money, needs resources, needs income. So the money is a means to ends. When, you know, in contemporary society, when you make money the thing, money is not the root of evil, because it's the love of money is the root of all evil. That's the full quote. When you love the money, like that's kind of like that thing of holding on, like I can't have enough, I must get more, I must get more. But when the mission, you need the money for the mission, but if we hate the money, it's harder to get the mission to happen, right? So it's about getting up close and fun with money. In the same way, you've probably got up close and fun with healing, where you're like, oh my God, I'm going into childhood wounds. It feels kind of good because I've finally broken down and I'm crying about it and I can feel it. Anyone else had those moments? Right? Can be the same with as we break through the stuff about money. And then money's coming in, and then you know what it's for, and it doesn't. You know, I'm a big believer in you put your own gas mask on, like on the plane, before you put other people, oxygen mask, before you put other people's, edit that out of the video, before you put other people's, right? So it's about looking after your own needs, because if you get into it's all about others and that's what I need the money for first, again, you're getting back into that out of balance thing where you're pushing it away. So yeah, you might want the healing center, but first of all, it's like, are your own needs met? Have you got money in the bank for food, for water, for buying your house, for having, you know, whether you want to have some kind of investment or whatever? Like, we can all pop off the planet. We might not wake up tomorrow, but at the same point, it's good to have some stuff so you feel safe to then reach further, to have your roots in the ground, to then help other people, right? I just wanted to tap that in with one thing that also talked to this gentleman in the hat. So it still stuff shows up for me, right? So I'm not a spreadsheet person. I am a Virgo, but it's my, yeah, Virgo's in the house. It's my sun sign, but my rising isn't. So I need to get, astrologers in the house, right? So I used to love a spreadsheet, now I hate them. But the thing is that when it's about money, like I like the energy of money. I now understand the energy of money, so it can come in, blah, blah, blah. But when it's like, oh yeah, but you have to work at how much percentage, and if you want to like put money in your pension or get a mortgage or look at rates or look at investments or look at loans, and I kind of go, ah, right? Now, I can outsource that, but I think it's more, before I outsource it, it's more powerful for me to get up close and personal with understanding what it is. Know what it is that I'm passing on, because then I'm empowered. So I make myself cacao. I like a candle. I put Nessie Gomez on in the background. I like some incense, and then I open my laptop and I do my spreadsheets. Right? I don't have a division between what feels like yoga and meditation and cool and self-care, because it is self-care, and finances. Yeah, somebody else asked a question.
So you're talking about creating the need. So what's your advice on investment? Or let's say you have this dream of having like a sensor of some sort, and how do you grow that money so you can have that sensor, or like creating that need or investment or something? Like, what's your advice on that?
So you know what the dream is, you know what your desire is, and then how do you create the need to get it?
I'm thinking about how to like create more money. What are the ways to create more money? Do you have any advice on how to create more money, how to invest it, where to put it in, or what to do with it? Once you cover your basic needs.
And I understand what you, once you cover your basic needs of housing and food and shelter,
yeah.
But you have the longer term vision, how do you take that next step to have that additional income to build towards the mission that gives to others as well, and not just you?
So how do you make your money multiply? How do you make it grow? Yeah. So I can't answer that in a nutshell. It's going to be different for everybody. Having multiple streams of income, I think, is really helpful, like a route. Like, it's helpful to have multiple ways that money can come to you, rather than it being like, and this is kind of why it's been a blessing to be self-employed, because I was like never limited by how much I could earn. I limited myself massively. I was stuck at the same annual salary without a pay rise for like 2 decades. Right? I didn't give myself any holidays either. 6 years I went without a holiday. Right? I was my own boss. I didn't give myself any time off. But also I didn't allow any money in. Right? So I hated it because it was evil. People who were rich and nasty. So how do you make it grow once it's there? Having multiple ways it can come to you. You can be your own boss, and you can choose then other ways. But if you are in employment, rather than seeing your boss as the way that money comes to you, or that company, no money is coming to you from your boss or your parents or an inheritance or a lottery win. All money is coming to you from God. It's coming through those things. But like me going to find a portaloo last night with my head torch, I opened the door where somebody's change had dropped all over the floor, right? So it made me laugh, right? I came out £2 richer than I went into the portaloo. You got to look for the small wins in those portaloos, especially day 3. They're getting full, right? So the money, all money, like for me that was God having a sense of humour, right? I was getting a bit nervous when I walked back to my tent about talking to you all today. I got £2 bonus. It's never that bad, right? Like it's having ways and means for money to come to you, so you're not limiting your version. So if I'm going to say stocks and shares or crypto or foundation, that's a different conversation. You can have financial advisors or you can hire a coach or whatever, but having multiple ways, but really it's multiple mindset. You can have I work with people in corporate and I work with self-employed, I work with musicians, I work with artists, I work with healers, like I work with the whole shebang. And even with people who are in corporate and like they don't have time for a side hustle, or like I've helped people negotiate pay rises or realize they did a whole year's worth of overtime over 7 years and they got paid a whole extra year. And it's like, or they own property and they realize they haven't put the rent up for 20 years, or do you know what I mean? Like it's not about being greedy or unjust, but it's also about realizing that if you can earn unlimited amounts of money, so can other people, and not playing small to see them as a victim of their circumstance, but see the potential in everybody, that everybody, no matter if they're stabbing somebody, they're in prison, they're a drug addict, everybody's a child of God. Everybody has Buddhahood, Christ consciousness, the ability to transform, to heal in them. Everybody has the ability to heal their money story. So we all take that journey at different times. Like when I was deep in my poverty consciousness, fucking angry about money and everything. How much? I have to go to another ayahuasca ceremony. How much? How much for your feathers? Right? I was so triggered when I started my awakening journey about the cost of it all. But actually, I'll give you a little anecdote about this, right? About creating the need. About creating the need. But at the same point, like if one ayahuasca ceremony cost you 350 quid, right? Or I don't know how much it is now, how much it was.
Very cheap.
Okay, I stopped drinking ayahuasca 5 years ago. That was kind of like the going rate then.
At 3,000.
Okay, well, I'll speak to that in a different, in the PS bit at the end. But if, okay, say it's £3,500, right? If that takes you to connect to God and make you realize that you're unlimited, or if that takes you out of the addiction that you've had for 40 years, or if that, that's money well spent, right? Where we put value, somebody will spend that on a car, right? And the car might last 6 months, or do you know what I mean? Like, it's where we place the value and where our expectations are. So do we expect that we shouldn't, the government should pay us for existing? I mean, I think if we expect anything of the government, we're going to be sadly disappointed at this point in time. But apart from some terrible things they are doing, expect them to do that, they probably will. But I won't get too political. Note to self. So you might choose that that's a problem, and then you create the need that actually I want to be able to offer that plant medicine at this kind of price. So that might then be your mission, that you then work out, this is how I'm going to generate money and this is how I'm going to change the economy. And the way that we work with money and what we see as value, I spent a long time trying to be like, oh, how do we do exchanges? And I give you a massage and you give me a cacao ceremony, or all of that stuff. But that's still making money the problem. Money is like love. Money is a way of showing appreciation in the world. It's making money bad. Money isn't bad. What we do with money can be bad, or it can be beautiful. But if we make money bad, it's very hard for it to come near us. It's like, I hate you, you're a horrible, ugly, nasty, terrible man. Have a relationship with me. Right? Sorry if I pointed at anybody, don't take it personally. I'll give you my number later. But it's like, but that's again, it's like, so, okay, I'm going to tell you the story about the need for money. I have got a few of them, but I'll talk about this right at the beginning of my journey. So I used to do huge amounts of Class A's, and I had all sorts of addictions. I was doing anything I could to get off my head, because I had 3 suicide attempts and then got past the point of actually wanting to kill myself, but didn't want to live anymore on a daily basis. So I took as many substances as I could to not be present. And I met a guy on Tinder who chanted Buddhist mantra and drank ayahuasca and was going to Glastonbury Festival. And I'd always wanted to go to Glastonbury, and it was 5 weeks before the festival, and he was like, come, get a ticket. And I was like, it's sold out in 3 minutes 9 months ago, how's that going to happen? And this was still when I was drinking, because I don't go there anymore, because like, there's alcohol and drugs and stuff that I don't agree with, right? That's my little judgment. No, I'm joking, Glastonbury's fun. And so I really wanted to go to Glastonbury Festival. I had no concept. I had not connected to the fact that I was an infinite being. I was an atheist, and I was very angry and deeply traumatized. And anyway, I was like, all right, this mantra that you say can like change the world, like get me a ticket, chant. And after a couple of days, I was like, it doesn't work, does it? And he's like, well, it's stronger if you chant it. And I was like, okay. If I chant it, this weird thing, I either don't get a ticket and I'm right, which is like really good. I've got one up on him, or I get a ticket and I go to this festival and have fun. So I chanted it for 5 minutes in the shower every day, and I got a ticket. I then became a Buddhist leader of that practice for a long time, and I have loads of people getting to Glastonbury Festival. No. I have loads of people do loads of things, but I don't align with one practice anymore. But big up Nam Myoho Renge Kyo if there's anyone in the house. It's very powerful. And so I went to Glastonbury, and I was this Class A bird, right? I was like, okay, you know, I'm used to lines of CDs and all that stuff. And somebody gave me a bag of mushrooms, and I was like, well, they're not even cooked. Like, what's this going to do? What are these going to do? And I lost everybody, and I ate all the bag of mushrooms. And in 20 minutes, I was like, they didn't do anything. Someone else, it's like, what you want? I'm like, mushrooms. They're like, oh my God, have some of these ones. So I ate all of those. Then someone else is like, this girl's on mushrooms, she's eating them. And so it became a bit of a game, right? It's just a bit ungrounded Glastonbury crowd. Everyone just kept giving me their mushrooms. I ate them all. There wasn't any instant hit happening. I don't know how many I ate in 10 minutes, but 3 days later, I was not the same person. Welcome to my talk. But if you told me then, 10 years ago, that I would now be sitting at a festival with no alcohol, you know, wearing a dress that cost more than like Oxfam prices, and, you know, and not feeling guilty about it, and talking about money, and having got a mortgage, and having bought a car, and having all the other, you know, traveled the world and worked with amazing shaman and healers and trained and invested in myself again and again and again, and afforded therapists. Right, I had some pretty massively traumatic stuff happen in my life, like, and I'm sure everybody else has, because it's generally why you end up, you know, trying to heal, right? And I looked up, I was crying deeply in this therapy session, and I looked up and the therapist was crying. And I said, why are you crying? And she said, because I thought you'd be better by now. Right? That was not money well spent, right? I was way out of my comfort zone investing in a third-year student, because that was all I thought I was worth in terms of healing. Okay? And one of the benefits of having better relationship with money is I can now afford to have fucking awesome personal trainer, coaches, therapists, like, so I can hold myself as deeply as I need to be held in order to hold all my clients with absolute integrity, right? That's one of the ways that I choose to spend the money that I get. And it's money in the bank, because I'm becoming a better person, and if I become a mother, I'm going to become a better mother, and I'm not going to be passing on all the crap that I was raised with. Right? So I went on for a tangent then. Back to mushrooms, Glastonbury Festival, right? So anyway, I realised you could heal. Within a month, I was drinking ayahuasca. And then I was like, everyone was like, oh yeah, but have you been to the jungle? And I was like, oh. I have to go to the jungle. And then within 6 months, the Tinder guy, we weren't together anymore, he was like, he'd sent me a text saying, I was in a ceremony, it's just, I drank ayahuasca a lot. I was, you know, the plant met me and was like, you need work. So I had a ceremony like every weekend for about 5 years with a few gaps. And deep respect to ayahuasca, but I don't work there anymore, right? Like I got my fill, she's in me, like I did a lot of work that way. And anyway, so this guy sent me a text, I was in a ceremony, I woke up and I checked my phone the next day and he was like, yeah, I've got a spare ticket to the jungle. And I was like, I have to go. You know that bit where you're like, God's got his foot on my soul, up my bum, and I have to say yes, and I don't know why. I got one of those. Got one of those to go to the jungle, got one of those to work with my coach. So expensive. But both of those decisions, I would pay 10 times more now because they were life-changing decisions. So I got this text going, you can have my ticket to the jungle. He told me he had a job. He didn't, he was scared. I found that out later. He went the year after me, but I'm still like holding on to that. It makes me happy. I did it first. It was my shadow. I told you I'd embarrass myself. So I decided, I said yes. And then I was like, oh my God, it's £3,000. I've got to pay for the plane. Ah, I didn't have the money, right? I didn't know how to do it. But I said yes, and I committed because I knew I was meant to do it, and I said yes. And I didn't have the mindset to be like, Helen, you are the kind of person who can earn £3,000 in 2 months. You can do this. I didn't know about how to talk to myself. I didn't know about how to do affirmations. I didn't know any of that stuff. I'd literally just eaten loads of mushrooms and then started drinking lots of medicine. I didn't know what chakra was. I didn't know what crystals were. I didn't go to yoga. I didn't know why people were wearing white. Like I did it all arse about it. I just jumped in. And then I just slowly went, oh, okay, you wear feathers and that's the thing, right? And so that saying yes led me to go, how am I going to get the money to go on this trip? So what happened? I told loads of people. I wasn't telling them because I thought this was a way of anchoring it into reality. I didn't know that trick. I told loads of people because I was shit scared. And by the time I got on the plane, I told you I was an actor. I was an actor who hated money, so I didn't earn money. I got great jobs, but I was also petrified. And so, you know, I'd get a great wage, but then I wouldn't get any money for 9 months. So it was like, yeah, that daily rate's insane, but like, then what? So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to earn that money. What happened was, a mate sent me a check in the post. My mum, who thought it was the devil's work, was so scared that I was going to come back called Tinkerbell or not come back at all, gave me some money. I was able to rent my room out while I went away. I sold stuff on eBay. I went at 7 a.m. every day to my local train station and handed out the metro to people, really angry, really resentful. Part of my voice going, you're going to go and die in the jungle. Why are you doing this? Go to bed. You're hungover. Ah. I hadn't kicked alcohol at that point. Anyway, so all of this stuff happened. And then 3 days before I was meant to get on the plane, I got my first ever advert for £3,500 that I filmed the day before I flew. And because I sublet my flat and people had sent me money and loads of other crazy stuff happened, I came back from the jungle with a profit. The medicine told me in the jungle to stop doing all the work I hated in order to get, you know, to pay the bills, which included doing mystery shops and places that didn't sell vegan food. So I'd have to take mates along and tell them what they could and couldn't order, and then I'd have to write a review of a restaurant chain I hated, because it was the only way to see a mate where I thought I could go out and pay for food. I was handing out the metro, which I thought was full of, you know, like capitalist crap, to people I disrespected because they wore suits and they were chasing money and they weren't in the arts. You know, and I was just angry all the time about everything. I was a waitress at like super wealthy people's houses going, you know, have the foie gras. Do you know it's a duck? Like, do you know how many calories are in that? You know, I wasn't eating the point either. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was so toxic with money. And then Redison, after this jungle trip, told me not to earn any more money, doing the things I hated and was resentful. So I sat in my flat thinking that we shouldn't have roofs and we should all just live in the jungle forever and be plants, going, but the rent's due and I'm scared of my flatmates. I don't know what to do, right? And then my life started to change. But the point for these stories, and I could give you so many more ridiculous things I've done, but the point is that we have to take action that scares the bejesus out of us. So then it was 3.5 grand. Now I won't tell you how much it is, but I do it because I have to walk my talk for the people I help, because God's in the room, because we have to leap in order to know God is there. And so that might mean putting something on a credit card. It might mean borrowing from a friend. I'm not encouraging you to be reckless and go on shopping sprees or whatever. But like, if you want to start the business, it might mean getting investment. It might mean if you want to get a mortgage, it might go as a mate did. She couldn't get a mortgage. She went to all her parents' mates who had money and said, I want to buy this houseboat. The bank won't give me money. I will pay you back more than the interest you'll get from the bank with your savings. Can you lend me the money? Can you lend me the money? Can you lend me the money? She got the boat. Eventually, there are ways, there are means, but she wanted the boat that was £200,000, right? She wanted to live in it for life and take it around the world, and she does, and she's a great time. She's paid the money back, but she didn't have the money. Like, we have to take action that scares us. We have to create the need to know God's there, and then we get strategic about how's this going to happen, but we also get open that God brings it to us in any way. I'm going to just check on time. I've got 5 minutes left. There's a couple of things I want to leave you with, but I'm going to take a couple of questions beforehand. This guy, hey, he had his hand up first, and then I'll come over here. Hi.
Very similar as well, like so many like drops of honey of insights from hearing and seeing things to be true from your own experience. It speaks to me so deeply, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Could you speak to as you see it to be true, could you speak to that toxic part of, and how I understand it energetically between the masculine and the feminine, more of the toxic and the feminine being the receiving part, the masculine being the doing part, the taking action part. Could you speak to more of the toxic masculinity energetically without getting side notes?
Yeah, I think I've got the question. Thank you. And I just say to everyone who's leaving, that's great. Thank you. I've got a QR code on the door that you can scan, or you can grab a card afterwards if you want to keep in touch. hearthealer.co.uk. Thank you. Yeah. So, absolutely. So we all have masculine, and I'm sure everyone knows this. We all have the masculine and the feminine energy inside of us. The masculine energy is the yang, it's the doing, and the feminine energy is the yin, and it's the receiving. And we can get out of balance, right? I was so out of balance in my masculinity. I lived in black. I was fighting the world. I was fighting myself. I was my own toxic masculinity. I was permanently single. I wonder why. Or having really terrible relationships. And it's because I didn't let God in. I didn't trust. It's just also why I wouldn't spend any money, because I felt like I had to do it all. And that's why I didn't have any holidays, and I worked 7 days a week, and I took on all these jobs I hated because I had to do it. I had to do it on my own. Like, my parents weren't going to do it. I had to do it. And I also came through like a whole lineage of like my grandparents being so poor that they were starving in the street, and my granddad picking me up from school and going through my parents' kitchen bin to pick out their dog ends, to nick the bit of tobacco, telling me not to tell my parents so he could have a rollie. Like, I was just surrounded by all this, like, so I was like, I've got to do it, I've got to do it. But I hate money, but I've got to do it because I've got to pay the rent. So there's that part of the toxic masculinity. And then the feminine part, the feminine, toxic feminine, is like, oh, it's all just going to come to me and I'm not going to do anything. Or I'm just going to marry it. Or I'm just going to, like, be totally ungrounded and, like, I just know, I've just got a feeling I'm going to be rich. Right? All of which might be true. But out of balance, it's like, I'm just going to marry it, but I'm not going to leave my room or go on a dating site or go on a date or heal my wounds with men. Do you know, or women or whoever you want to hang around with. Do you know what I mean? Like it's both. And talking about my Buddhist practice, like, yeah, you chant, you have faith, you pray, and then you take action. But you take action from prayer. Right? You come, this is the tagline of my company is head to heart living. Head to heart living if you work with me, and if you're a company you want to work with me, it's head to heart leadership. Right? But it's head to the heart, because the heart has to come first. We have to bring our damage, our ego, our patterns, our traumas, our paradigms, the matrix into the heart. We can't leave it behind, and we certainly can't let it run the show, because that's screwy. But this is connected to God, and this is how we transform it. Okay, cool. Yeah, this lady here. Yeah. Hey.
Thank you so much for this talk. Really, really great.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think as I've been listening to you talk, I've been noticing that one of my biggest challenges and triggers has been I associate people who have a lot of money with sort of destroying the environment, sort of being kind of, being part of the things that I see being harmful to the world. I think I'm noticing that the big block of me being able to accumulate money, because I'm like, oh, if I have it, then I'm affording it to them, this kind of stuff. And I was wondering, how did you work through that, or how was it with other kind of...
Yeah, that's a great question. Does anybody else have this, where they see people who have money in the world doing crap things with it, like hurting the environment or making really shitty choices? In fact, I did this talk at All About Love Festival, and somebody walked in who hadn't been there for the prayer or the opening, and just said shouted at me, he lived in the forest and I was part of the problem and I was killing the planet. Which comes from that mindset, right? And it was deeply embedded in me. But what I would say is, look for the role model. Like, we have the role models of the people who aren't doing great things. But there are role models of people doing magnificent things, but they probably don't have the same PR team. Right? And there's probably a reason that certain publications or mainstream media doesn't promote those, or it does, like, to a 100th% of the, the other stuff, or the Kardashians or whoever you want to, like. But it's all welcome, right? We need to see what not to do in order to know what to do. And so look for who inspires you. And if you can't find somebody, get really clear on you being that role model for future generations, and see that future self, part of yourself. And in the same way that I was an egg in my great-great-great-grandmother, that aspect of you is in you. And this is a really big point that I actually want to make sure I touch on, is that your desire, whether it is Mercedes-Benz or saving the rainforest or whatever, like, it's like we each have, like, in the same way, like the oak tree is an acorn this big, and it doesn't need to stress the fuck out about how it's going to become an oak tree, because it is an oak tree in the acorn. Your mission, your soul purpose, your desire is in you, because God wants you to be that here. Same way, it wants the oak tree to be that here, and so it's in you. And all our job is, because we have a whole load of screwy stuff that the oak tree beings that I've spoken to don't have, or they've worked through because they're older than us, like, to get that big anyway, like magnificent things. Like it's to just keep on doing the work till that DNA code, let's use some trendy language, like that encoding, like that imprint, that, your Akashic record, your lifetimes, all the stuff is in you, because you're meant to be doing it. And if you're meant to be doing it, life will find a way, God will support you, but you have to leap. And what we do when we're traumatized and scared and our nervous system has been through the ringer is go, yes, I will invest in you when I have the money in the bank and I feel safe to do so. Or yes, I will go to the jungle once, no, I won't take that ticket, but I'm going to do a business plan about how to get the money. Like, that just takes a long time. It's the leaping that allows things to happen. And money as an energy, so I said I'll cover money as an energy. Money as an energy likes to move fast. Like, it's not a yin energy. It's a sexy, take me or leave me, because I am on the rise. Come grab me now, because I ain't here all day. Like, that's the energy of money. Like, when it gets you, it's like bam, and then you can go and have a ball. But if it's like, oh, well, I'm still working through my root chakra issues, so not yet. Well, that sounds long. Bye, babes. Party's over here. Like, we get to do it at the same time, and we get to speed up the healing the root chakra because we've got more abundance to pay people who know what they're doing. Right? So it's just constant mindset, right? We live in the matrix. It's really strong, but it's also like pop. Oh, mushrooms. Oh my God. Right? I literally had the snippy snips happen. It's been no way back since. How time am I? Can I take one more question? One more question. This lady, yeah, hey. Thank you.
So if you've made the leap and you've got a business, but it's taken investment,
Yeah.
and it has a constant monthly outgoing, your outgoings are getting higher and higher. How to keep the faith and remove the fear, especially people in your life who are like, your outgoings keep going up and you're not seeing a return yet. Like, how do you navigate?
Okay.
That's where I'm at the minute.
Is anyone else at a place where like they're growing the business, but as they grow, the outgoings get bigger, and then they're surrounded by people saying, "Come on, bit of logic here," blah blah blah. Okay, so a couple of things. One is that growth doesn't have to be outwards; it can be deeper. So there are ways to like not have big overheads and still like bring the money in and trim, and it doesn't have to be that kind of scalable. But also, you can surround yourself with people who are ahead of you in terms of, don't quite like that language, but do you know what I mean? Like, have done there and been there, who can give you their experience, which is again like working with somebody, to kind of go, because we all have blind spots, and it's really difficult to be busting your money mindset, bringing the money in, doing your root chakra clearing trauma, right, going to the jungle, whatever, to do it all at once. And that's why it's really helpful to have somebody who's already done it, who's an expert in that thing, to go, yeah, but when you do your bench press, Helen, you're not clenching this muscle, so it's never going to improve. Or, you know, you're draining money on that platform and it's not helping you. Whatever the blind spot is, like, get people who know, but also, yeah, you can trim. And like running like a marathon, there are always moments where we're like, I ain't going any further. Anyone else do that Kundalini Kriya this morning over there? And then people go, ha, ha, and then he said 2 more minutes, and you just saw like half the room's arms drop, right? Right? There's always those moments. But like money likes to move, and like the seasons on this planet like to change. Like, it's not just vroom. It might be vroom, 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 but if you're doing the work, like you're doing the healing, it might sometimes feel like, hang on, it was a lot easier when I was just into Netflix and cocaine, right? But those moments don't last long in the grand scheme of things, because you're healing, you're expanding, and it's the same with business, right? But if you're surrounding yourself with people who tell you you can't, and you shouldn't, and shame on you for the spoiling. Like my mum, like when she passed her 11 plus, her mum stopped speaking to her at 11 because she's like, you're going to show the family up, you're going to be a hairdresser and you're going to be proud. You're not going to be a teacher, right? Like all this crap, right? It shows up in different ways. There's a mate's birthday party, I have to finish, and her mate she bought herself a jacket for her birthday, it's her 40th, and one of her mates said, how much was it? And she said 250 quid. And she went, you earn too much money. And it's like her parents had given her 250 quid for her 40th, and she'd bought that jacket, and her mate shamed her. Like, why is that okay? You wouldn't say, what size is it? Oh, it used to be a 10. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, why is that okay with money? Okay, I'm going to finish, but first of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening.